I'm Steve Marshall, and from London. Kind of amazing and surreal to be standing up here. I only officially found out this morning as well, which is a bit funny. But I do have slides presented, thank goodness. So to share my story really, let's start. So my thing's always been about doing professional HMOs, so I'll lead into how that's come about. So we'll start with why I joined Mastermind, which is why some people at the back might be thinking about now. A lot of it was about planning for the future. We all know property is a great investment vehicle. It's something that we hope will go up in value in the future. So I was very in tune with that. I'm into looking at other investments and starting up businesses, which is what I'm looking to do in the future. But I wanted to have a number of areas where I might be looking at investment vehicles in my life. So property was obviously going to be a big element of that. So I got in tune with that and started looking at how can I educate myself about that. Came across Simon's Property Mastermind course, primarily through his book, realised the scope of stuff you could do, did this one-day course, did the accelerator course, really opened my mind as to what was possible, and hence decided I'd join Mastermind. And from, I think, actually doing accelerator, that's at the point I realised it's not just about building for the future. You can actually get great cash flow income right now, which is really why we're doing it. It's cash that can give you, make a big difference in your life right now, as opposed to looking for the payout in 20 years. That payout will come, but it'd be great if you get something right now as well. So it's from that, I've sort of narrowed down quite quickly that I realised HMOs would be the things to do it, because that delivers the most cash flow now. So yeah, it really was about building that passive income. So income that's going to come in, it's not going to require your time. You're no longer trading time, your time for money, which is a huge thing, very powerful if you're looking to scale any business, I think. So again, everything came back to HMOs. So for me, there's a lot of elements to that. It's having time freedom, and so for the future, I can leave my job. I'm from a corporate job. I work for a bank. Being able to leave that, I earn back my time, and there's nothing more valuable than your own time. Another reason then for Mastermind, which is probably the biggest reason, or I think the thing that's made the biggest difference, is actually the environment you're in. If you're constantly in this environment with other people who are achieving great things, you can't help be inspired. And if everyone's going up at a great level, you can't help being dragged along. So it's fantastic. So yeah, in particular about my journey then. So as I said, I'm from a corporate background. It's never been my passion, but that's what brings in the income. That's what you do. But it's always something I've aggressively wanted to get out of. So to the extent I actually took a new job 14 months ago solely to facilitate actually doing this. My job before that was another thing in finance in London, in the city. But I'd be working till, frequently midnight every night. You could know all this knowledge, but you'd have no time to do it. So I just took a job that had a little bit more stable hours, looked good on paper for mortgageability, and it actually freed up my evenings and weekends to actually do this stuff. So as I said, yeah, so I instantly started focusing on HMOs. I initially looked around other areas of the UK. I was looking in Sheffield at the start of the course, because I'm based in London. I thought you can't really do all this stuff you learn about in London. Prices are too expensive, you can't get B&Vs. So I was looking in Sheffield, but the proximity soon became too much of an issue. So I gravitated back to London and started working out ways I could actually do it. And it all started with my first purchase. I actually started the process as a first-time buyer, so I didn't even have my own place. So I figured if in London I'm going to buy my first place, if money's going in and money's staying in, I'm going to have to do it as a HMO, otherwise to justify it. So my first purchase was this one here. It's a 5-bed flat in Docklands, which is where most of my purchases are now. In fact, all of them. I've got the floor plan there. I've become completely obsessed with floor plans. This is the first thing I look for if a property's on with the agent. So yeah, my real minimum I've realised is 5 beds or more, and actually everything since has been a 6-bed or more. So yeah, this is my very first purchase. It's purchased for 350,000, which sounds like a lot. I'd agree with you, but the rental is really high on it as well. So whilst the purchase price might be higher, so is the rental. So it's just a numbers game, really. And what it all comes down to is the ROI. So I've not started this process of a load of money. In fact, I came back from traveling about a year and a half, 2 years ago with 4K of debt. So it's not been a position where I put money in. So I've always gone out and worked with JV partners who are looking for a great return. So if we look at some of the numbers on this one, I don't know if you can see that there. This is bought on a residential purchase since I'm living there myself, which has helped me get a better loan-to-value ratio. I've got on an 80% mortgage. I live there myself, and I rent out the other 4 rooms. So, and the interest rate also on a residential purchase is also going to be better. So the rental with me in there is in 2,800. My mortgage I'm paying is 1,000, and other costs is about 700, which sounds like quite a lot as well. It's because there's some service charge. But that leaves cash flow of over 1,000 a month. That's with me living in there. I also pay an investor for that, so the total investment on that was in the region of 80K. I give my investors a fixed 10% return. And I'm left with a residual. So even on my own property, I'm making cash flow every month. So anyway, this model was rolled out, and the journey I went on in Mastermind, the first 6 months was probably the hardest, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and you are going to go through struggles. A big turning point for me was when I brought my best friend into my business, into my property business. He's got very similar goals to me, similar aspirations, and we bounced off each other really well. So that's made a huge difference in terms of my overall activity and what we've been able to achieve. And through building up really great contacts with agents, I was able to source another property, which is this one, and that's my business partner's next house as well. So he's doing exactly the same thing as me. It's a 6-bed house, again in Docklands, 4 en-suites. We cater just for the sort of higher-end professionals. There's a huge demand for it in London, again, so that's one of the reasons why your rents are going to be high enough to justify quite a high price tag. Of course, you're going to have to try and get the property for as cheap as possible. So I've sourced solely through agents, and through that, I've built up some really good agent contacts. And one of them has been absolute goldmine, really, because they've had a property company flogging a whole load of their properties, which are all converted to HMOs. They did about over 100 in just before the credit crunch. They had borrowed commercial finance to do this, but they got themselves in a bit of trouble by selling some shares in their company, which was against one of the covenants they had with their lender. So when the lender got wind of this, they recalled their loans within 24 hours notice, which obviously they were unable to do. So they had to reach an agreement that they'd sell each one for a certain price, which is actually below market value. I'm not going to claim it's 25% below market value, but below market value for London. Anything below market value in London is pretty good in my opinion, especially a HMO, which yields such great returns. So from developing quite a very trusted relationship with this agent, I was able actually to see the full list of what these, the full portfolio. And I was able to cherry pick, if you like, which ones were going to work for me. And as I said, the way I finance it is working with other people's money and giving them a great return. So the important number for me was always, if we look at the numbers for this, if you look at the column on the far right, this again is on a residential purchase, but if you look at the column on the far right, it's what it would stack as just a HMO, as a buy-to-let mortgage, and that's what is the real key for me. The ROI that I'd look for is a minimum 20%. So I'm able to pay 10% to an investor, and the residual is to me. So anything has to be 20% or more. And likewise, all of these today have stacked in that region. So for example, one day, likewise with my purchase, likewise with Nick's purchase, we're not going to live there forever. One day we'll move out, and they will be stacking as the pure investment property. So this one, on that basis, will cash flow 1,750, paying an investor 10%, and the residual is left for me and Nick in this instance. One of the funny things about this one is actually Nick's also joining Mastermind 12, so if any of you guys at the back are thinking about that, you'll see him on that course. But the funny thing, he's also looking to do what we're both looking to leave our jobs. But the funny thing about this one is one of our investors on this is actually Nick's boss. So he doesn't know the objective yet, but it's a little bit funny. So yeah, moving on. Another one that's just a pure purchase. We're going to use it's just a pure investment property. another one of our flats. This is the best purchase today. Not completed on this one yet, but yeah, it's imminent. That's a 6-bed flat right by Canary Wharf in Docklands again. Again, from the same vendor. This one was actually bought for $520,000 in 2007. I've agreed it at 365, so there's some equity in that deal as well. It's also got great cash flow if we look at the numbers. It'll cash flow in the region of £2,000 a month. Paying the investor, it's going to leave me in excess of £1,000 cash flow coming in, which is pretty good. The reason why these work so well is because they were set up as professional HMOs. This one's a 3-bed ensuite, 6 beds but 3 en suites. So en suites are a real premium in London. As I said, my tenant market is sort of higher end professionals, maybe fresh graduates, people who are just coming to London for the first time. They're getting a decent salary and they want a decent place. So if you hit that threshold requirement, you can get some really great rents. Of the total portfolio, the most expensive rooms about 850, including bills a month, ranging down to about 580. So they're pretty good. So likewise, in the last week, actually, this is pretty fresh. Last Thursday, I've been waiting for financing on 2 further purchases, mortgages. And they came on a Thursday last week for this property, which is a 6-bed house, again in Docklands, and this one, which is a 6-bed, which I'm going to turn into a 7-bed, again in Docklands. That got confirmed on Thursday last week, and I handed my notice in the very next day. So yeah, that was always my objective from Mastermind, was to get out of my job as soon as possible, because it is your time that's the most valuable thing. So having that goal, and it's always been really focused on achieving that, somehow it manifests itself, and you can make it happen. So that's the message I say. Set your goals really clearly, and it is possible. So the tips I'd say for other investors in the room, really, I'd focus on one or 2 strategies. I think that's why I've achieved what I have. It's because quite early on I realized HMOs were the way to achieve what I wanted short term, which is cash flow. So you've got a plethora of strategies at your disposal, but I'd choose 1 or 2 and get really good at it. So that's why from the start I've been able to source HMOs and make them work even in London. I'd also say adapt your strategy to your area. So there's a lot of reasons why people say you can't invest in London. It's too expensive, you're not going to get BMVs. And it's true, there are a lot of challenges in London, but you can adapt your strategy. So I live in Docklands as well, which has helped. I've got to know 1 or 2 areas really well. So it's about knowing what will work there. And through seeing that, I've seen the opportunity. There are HMOs that stack at a very good level. And you don't need too many if they're going to be that expensive to bring in great cash flow. Like we saw, some of these are going to bring in £2,000 a month. Also, get a strategy that you like, something that resonates with you. The whole reason I think I've done well with professional HMOs is because that's kind of my background. I understand the tenants, I understand what they want. I pretty much have been one of them. So it helps to know what they want, and you can actually deliver it. Also, get help. It was so significant when I brought on my business partner into the business, because now we're having a great time together, and you're working with your best mate every day, which is fantastic. You've got a lot of resources in Mastermind in this room. People I've known all the way along the 12 months have given me great help, which has been amazing. And just your buddy calls, like I've known Carl, for example, since we did Accelerator, which is about 15 months ago. We've pretty much spoken every week, and just it's a great resource to tap into. Learn from your setbacks. I remember about 6 months ago now, so at the point at which I was 6 months in, that was definitely my low point. I just lost a deal because I was unable to get financing in time. And it was a huge blow because it was another HMO that I thought was going to bring in a great amount of cash flow and a huge step forward to leaving my job. Yeah, it fell down, and I remember I was on the phone to Mike, who was a huge help. Virtually on the verge of tears to the guy, but he really sorted me out. But a great learning from it was this flat. It was a 5-bed flat, which they'd gone into the loft and actually extended out the back. And when I was in the flat, I was thinking at the time, I didn't understand where all this space was coming from. It was only through looking at it in a more objective manner later, I realized they'd done all this extension work. And now it's just a fundamental part of our business plan now is to do extension works to add number of rooms to make HMOs even more lucrative. And I wouldn't really have got that unless I would have learnt from that deal that fell down. And then the last reason I think, the last tip I'd have is just be really clear on your reason why. You've probably heard about it now, about having a massive reason why. And I think I've been quite lucky in the sense that I've had 3 massive reason whys. Number 1 is just to leave my job because it's never been my passion, and I just aggressively wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. That's the sort of push factor. I've also had a big pull factor in that fact I've wanted to free up my time so I can do stuff I care about. I'm massively passionate about traveling. I'll have time to go and do that now. I also want to start some other businesses up. And without, you're not really able to do that if you're dedicating all your time to your job. And the last reason why is something I'm now looking to do more work in Africa. I volunteered there about a year and a half ago, and I was able to go back about a month ago. And now I'm in a position where I'm actually financially able to help and start a microfinance project, which is basically giving small loans to help people just start up their own business. I'm doing it with a project I'm already very familiar with. But now looking to sort of scale that out and see if I can build an organisation. So it's something I'm hugely passionate about, and it's from property. It's given me that, so it's a huge thing for me. So yeah, I'd just like to say a quick few thank yous as well. Thank you to everyone who's been on my mastermind group. It really is down to you that I've been able to do this, being amongst you and coming to this meets every month. If it wasn't hearing about your stories and having our buddy calls and all hearing about your achievements, it wouldn't have driven me on. So I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I thank all of you, and especially to those that I've had the most buddy calls with. Thank you to my coach, Paul. He's the one who actually nominated me to be standing up here today, and we've had some good chats over the last 12 months. So thank you so much. And also thank you to Big Zed. Ultimately, it's all down to you that you created this, so I thank you for that. And you've basically given me financial freedom, which is what I wanted, so thank you so much. But I'll caveat that with, whilst financial freedom sounds brilliant, he's actually just halved my income, so 50% down. But thank you so much. And that's it, really, so thank you.
Hey, so Steve Marshall! Hi, Steve.